Okay, we're gonna make butter chicken today, and we've got our ingredients lined up. So let's have a look at them. So we're gonna need some onions, um, garlic, of course ginger. I like to put kasuri methi and everything, so we have that. Of course, going to be using a bunch of tomato paste. A lot of people like to use we could use butter, a little bit of vegetable oil, and of course cream. So the chicken breast is huge, of course. These things are definitely well fed, but we want to cut them down to sort of small cubes, sort of bite size. I know it's a big variable, but kind of like that, a little bit smaller than an inch on all sides. So like that, and that's what we want to do. Okay. The first step, of course, is getting some oil in the pan, in the pot rather. And so this is roughly the quantity I'm using. I'm going to be making 6 large size chicken breasts. We've sliced basically the onions down to fairly thin slices. It doesn't actually matter how thin you slice them because we're going to blend this thing later on anyway. But I just like to do them thin so that they caramelize more quickly and we get a little more flavor. Now we've chopped our. Some people like to do like a ginger garlic paste. I don't think that's really necessary. I think the ginger garlic paste is probably useful if you're going to marinate the chicken first, but otherwise if you're just going to cook this straight, you don't really need to make it into a paste. This is looking pretty good. We're going to put the garlic in first, and then after that the ginger, and the reason is that the ginger tends to burn more quickly, but this is just getting started, so we're not anywhere near that. We'll let these things sort of soften up a little bit, and then we'll add the garlic and ginger. This is starting to soften up. I think we'll give it maybe another 5 minutes or so, and then we'll get our garlic and ginger in there. As I said, first the garlic and then the ginger. We're cooking it on medium heat, nice and slow. So I've just added the garlic. As you can see, we're gonna let these two things cook together for some time before we add the ginger. So this is coming along nicely. Almost time to add the ginger and let these cook a little while longer. It's a good idea to keep checking frequently, make sure at the bottom the stuff isn't started to burn. If by the way it does, it's always a good idea to keep some hot water handy so that we can just add it and then very quickly be able to take control. One critical factor in the cooking of the gravy is the chicken, and I forgot what I was going to say. It's just gone in, and so we're gonna let this slowly cook and caramelize, and then just before it starts to darken, we don't want to do too much of the browning. We just want to make it soft in just the beginning of caramelization, and then we'll start to add some of the masalas. So we've got the masalas, the paprika, and of course these guys have to go in there as well. So as I said earlier on, we are going to be blending this, so it really does not matter whether you chopped up the green chilies or not. So I'm just going to put it in just as they are. I think cooking the skin of the chilies, just judging by some of the grilling that we do of the other types of chilies, the capsicums and whatnot, produces a very nice flavor. So colors are looking amazing. So this is all we really need for masalas. We got some lal mirch, red, crushed or rather powdered red chilies. We've got some haldi. I like to put haldi in pretty much everything. I put it even in scrambled eggs, omelets, etc. For that matter, even in a namkeen paratha, I put haldi in it. There's some salt, and of course, if you take a closer look, so you can focus on here. That right there in the center, that's garam masala, and not too much of it, just enough to add a little bit of flavor. Now, along with this, we're also going to be adding one other thing, and that's paprika. Paprika has kind of a flavor, but it's not like really spicy or anything. It's mostly used just to add color. So these dried masalas are actually surprisingly delicate and fragile, so you don't want to add them too soon because they'll burn very quickly. So we're gonna try to blend this stuff first, or maybe add a little bit of water, maybe add the tomato paste first. But the whole idea is to actually add these when the thing is a little bit more fluid, so that they're not going to be directly in contact with the metal, burning very quickly. We don't want to do that. So as you can see, the masala has started releasing its oil that it had initially absorbed. Our mixture has caramelized nicely. We haven't browned it too much, but at the same time it's been cooked, and it's got a delicious blended flavor. And so this is the right time to add our other stuff. I'm going to start by adding in the tomato paste, and that's going to create a lot more bulk. And then after that I will add the dry masalas so that they don't burn, and then we'll cook those for some time. And then after that we'll add some water just to make it a little bit more fluid. And then that's the time we'll use the blender and blend it. I'm just going to use a hand blender. Those things are good enough. But if you have like a Vitamix or something, you can blend it at a much higher speed, and you'll get a much more sort of a silky, smooth gravy. I like to leave mine a little bit more granular. It's up to you, whatever you like. But this is what we're going to do. So here goes the tomato paste. We're going to go in with that. There we go. Got most of it out. And we'll blend it up. Just looks amazing. Look at that color. Beautiful. Okay. So I'm going to let that cook for a little bit of time before I add the other masalas, just to allow these things to sort of get acquainted, create some nice blended flavor, and then we'll add these other things in slowly, one at a time. So I've been stirring it for a little bit of time, and I realized that we probably have sufficient oil being released kind of from the mixture that at this point we don't need to add any water to keep the kasuri methi from burning. And I'm ready now to add our masalas in there. So we'll see you in a minute after we add those. Beautiful. And you can also see the effect of the haldi that we put in here. As I mentioned before, that's something I put in just about everything because of its healing properties. It is known to be an anti-inflammatory, but it has other beneficial properties as well. So it's well worth adding that wherever you can. That's definitely what I do. It's time now to add some of the dried masalas. I'm going to start by adding the kasuri methi. So there we go. Just one katori of it. Mix it all together. Just like that. see right away that even though it blends in, it does have a little bit of a thickening effect, and that worries me a little bit because that may cause it to burn. I don't want it to be too much directly in contact with the metal, so I might add a little bit of water. And the same may be true for also the masalas, although the masalas blend a little bit better than the solids do, so it's not as big a concern, but certainly with this it is. Let's see how it goes. I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes. And then I've added all the masalas in there. You can see now the deeply rich color of the masala. It's come along very, very nicely. I love how this whole mixture has kind of become blended. You don't see too much of the solids anymore, not even the garlic and ginger, just the green chilies, and those are also going to continue to soften. But of course, this is butter chicken, so we're going to have to blend it all together because we want a single sort of smooth gravy. So that's going to be the next step. I'm going to add a little bit of water before I do that, so that it's easier to blend it. I'm just going to use a hand blender, as I mentioned. So here we go. We're making this butter chicken with chicken breast, and chicken breast is something that cooks very quickly. Rather, it overcooks very, very quickly, so you want to be very careful in terms of not giving it too much time in the pot cooking. And so I like to make the gravy almost completely. The only thing that I leave out is the cream. Cream is always the last thing to go in, and I always put the cream in after all the cooking has been completed, because all the dairy stuff, you don't want to cook that on a high temperature. You want to cook it on a low temperature, or at the very most a medium, for a very short period of time. Otherwise that tends to curdle. Okay, so this is what our blended gravy looks like so far, and I've just done a tasting of it, and what I found was that those green chilies and the red chilies added together, wow, they're very, very spicy. So we have a problem because some of the kids are not going to eat it, and so what we have to do is to balance it out. It's not a problem. There are many ways of doing it. Some people will add yogurt, some people add sugar, some people add other things. I'm just going to take some of this gravy out so that I can change the balance between this gravy and the butter, which I will inevitably add, and also the cream. So we're just going to take some out. Okay, so I just added the chicken. The sauce was a bit of a dangerous thing because it was super spicy, so I've taken a bunch out over here in this jar. We're adding butter. I've added a little bit already. I'm going to add some more. Butter, of course, is a critical part of butter chicken. Anybody tells you you're not supposed to add butter, tell them they're an idiot, and then go right ahead and add butter. And we're going to let this cook for some time, maybe for another 10 minutes or so, and then after that we're going to add some cream. Okay, so I think the chicken has cooked nicely, and of course the chicken had a lot of water. We're going to put the cream in now. This is roughly half a liter. We may need more, but as you can see, this thing is right down to the minimum simmer position. You don't want this thing to be cooking on high at all, or medium, or any of those sort of higher temperature things. It's looking kind of lighter in color, but um, once it settles down, it does tend to become more dark. So it's time to kind of taste it and then decide if we need to add more things. So I'm just going to do that. Right. So this is what it looks like. Gravy. This is going to thicken, of course, as it cools. There's the chicken. We're just going to give it a taste. This is perfect. The spiciness has been fixed. It tastes delicious. It's got a perfect balance of creaminess, buttery, smooth, absolutely delicious. Now, there are many different ways of making butter chicken. There is an original butter chicken. There's, of course, the authentic sort of butter chicken. But the best butter chicken is the one that you like. And this one's awesome.